Hello, BookTube. As some of you will know, I have written an enormous amount of prose in my life, but I've never actually published a book. Or have I? Nothing has ever appeared with my own name on it. But will that stay true? Oh, I can't do it. I was going to do the whole video as a fake booktuber, but I can't. So I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop with that and just tell you what's going on. It is true. I've written a huge amount of prose in my life, an enormous amount of prose. I love it. I love to do it. It comes fairly easily to me. I am interested in a broad array of subjects, and my answer to anyone who asks is always yes. That has included not only countless book reviews and book columns and book articles of one kind or another, signed and unsigned, but also helping friends with manuscripts of books. Whether that help takes the form of finishing the manuscript or going over the manuscript with helpful in-depth edits, or maybe, if the well is completely dry, writing the book because the friend in question cannot possibly make final deadline on revisions, on an actual deliverable piece of prose. Those things never go to market under my name. I might smile a private little smile when I see them in a bookstore, but there's no claim there. And over the years, a number of people have suggested to me that that ought not to be true, especially not now in the golden age of self-publishing, when, unlike in the past, where you had to pay a vanity press to give you a box full of fake leather-bound hardcovers of your boring Vietnam memoir that would stay mostly in a box, except for the few friends who were inflicted with copies, but they weren't for sale anywhere. Unlike in those old days, now self-publishing has come into its own. You get an ISBN. You get as much distribution as you want in electronic bookstores. So over the years, people have said, you really ought to write something that isn't just here today in the Sheboygan Morning Shopper and then wrapping fish tomorrow. And I've often thought that was a good idea, but I've never actually got off my duff and do it. And that is where Alex Sorondo enters the picture. And some of you will know Alex's name already. He used to have a BookTube channel called Kingly Endeavors, where he was going in depth through the works of Stephen King. He now has a channel called A View from the Bar that is about books and writing and reading and a whole bunch of other stuff. And he's a friend of mine. And there are two salient points when it comes to Alex, two before the main one. The two ones that have to deal with him directly are he's a freelance editor. If you yourself have a job, or your school or your company has a job that you would like a very talented, very animated freelance editor, you ought to give him a call. You ought to get him in touch with your PR people or your HR people. That's one thing. And the other thing is that he's the author of a novel called Cuba Fruit that is agented and out now in submissions to publishers. And that is the single best work of fiction that I read in 2022, published or unpublished, debut or otherwise. Some of you who have been watching this channel for a while will know I don't play favorites, and I calls them like I sees them. Believe you me, having his book complimented may turn Alex's head, but he has decidedly conflicted feelings when he extrapolates what I just said to the absolute truth, which is that I am putting his debut novel ahead of not one, but two novels by his beloved Cormac McCarthy. His book was the best piece of fiction that I read this year. Now, those two things, a very talented freelance editor and a very talented author, when Cuba Fruit finally makes it to the retail book market, watch and see. But those two things combine to augment the status of the third thing about Alex, which is about me as well, which is that he looked at that vast corpus of scattered pieces all over creation, and it bugged him. It bugged him. And he had the idea to pull together some of those reviews from all the different venues where they have occurred and make a book out of them. And I am tentatively on board with this idea. It's an enormous compliment for a writer as talented as he is to even want to do this for me. And that's the project that I want to talk about today, because that is what this video is about. It's about Alex's project here is to take a number of book reviews of mine over the course of 30 years, 50 book reviews, specifically about the US presidency. Presidents, topics that presidents have to face, governmental ideas and issues, that sort of thing, and make it into one big book. Our working title is The Books of Power. And what Alex wants to do is crowdfund this project. So I will leave a link down below to all of the information that you could. I'll leave a link for you to contact him, and also I'll leave a link to the crowdfunding page for this book. Which is kind of odd. It's kind of odd. It's not me crowdfunding, it's Alex's project. He is going to pull these pieces together, he is going to dress them up, he is going to make a book out of them, and then we will see what we will see. We will see what I think when that is done. So I want to stress here, I want to sort of describe for you what your crowdfunding money, if you are kind enough to pony up money for this crowdfunder, what it will actually buy you. You are buying, as far as I can see, 3 things. You will get that ebook, the finished ebook, which will have, keep in mind, these pieces aren't just assembled. Alex has to go and find them. He has to pull them from wherever they are, out of the ecosystem where they've been embedded, sometimes for 15 years. He has to dress them up. In other words, they all have to be in the exact same format, and he has to edit them. And I don't mean in the sense of censoring or chopping things, but he correctly points out, he's absolutely right, I would have needed someone to do this anyway, and I think it's pretty obvious that I wasn't about to do it myself. He points out that when you're writing a review at 800 words for Monday morning for, the Sheboygan County Shopper, that review is going to have trappings in it that it doesn't want to have if it's part of a book, right? As a book reviewer, as I've talked about book reviewing many times here, one of the duties that I have, if I am a periodical, a penny press book reviewer, is to bring my reader up to speed on everything. I can't assume that they know anything about what I'm talking about, nor care anything. And also, it's a reflex of mine to contextualize the book, not only in the subject matter, but also in the marketplace. Here's what so-and-so just published. Here's what so-and-so published a year ago, that sort of thing. That's a lot less germane. When that piece of prose suddenly becomes a chapter in a book, that's a lot less germane. Someone has to carefully, lovingly shape that, prune out bits and pieces like that, correct broken links or remove them, correct little bits of contextualization for the news of the day that no longer belongs, that sort of thing. It's a loving, painstaking project. It's a lot of work. It isn't just assembling pieces. Alex has to do that, and once he's done with that, he will then make that into an ebook, and once that ebook is done, I will add content to it. So this thing, the Books of Power, will have original writing by me. I will, of course, write an introduction, probably a fairly lengthy one, certainly an energetic one. And there are a couple of other ideas that Alex and I have in mind, depending on his freedom, which we'll get to, and also my writing schedule, which bunches up like crazy at the end of the year, preparatory to me disappearing completely. So that when you pony up your crowdfunding money, that's one thing that you're buying, is that ebook. But there are a couple of other things that you're buying as well. One of those other things is input. When this is a finished product, if it ever is, if it becomes a finished product and I sign off on the finished product, well, then it's a finished product. Then it's done. It's out for sale and here and Bangor and Bangladesh. But in the crowdfunding stage, you get to give feedback to Alex. He gets to accumulate all of that feedback, sift through it himself, and share it with me. And that may shape the end result. And there's, in addition to the book, which obviously I was never going to make, and obviously no one else is going to make, and also that no one else could. That's the reason that I opened with Alex's credentials, is that this is a skillful thing that he's doing. In addition to that, and in addition to the input, in addition to I'm sure that a lot of you know what the crowdfunding process is like. It's a two-way street. It's a conversation. In addition to those two things, there's also the third thing that I think Alex would probably mention last. I want to kind of mention it foremost, which is his time. He wants to be compensated for his time. It's a large amount of work that he's undertaking. I am, don't tell him, but I am immensely flattered that he would consider me worth that kind of work. I have loved everything that I've ever written. Don't get me wrong. I have never lied in a book review. I have never phoned it in a book review. All the stuff that I've done has been the best attempt that I could make at the time to instruct and entertain. But nevertheless, I'm at heart an old print newspaper, Old Bailey hack. You never expect anthologizing of any kind. And this is shaped anthologizing. This is on a subject. And that takes time. That takes a lot of Alex's time. So those are the three things that the crowdfunder would do. I want to stress here what it does not do, right? It does not get you a book in the mail unless your email counts. It will get you an ebook. Regardless, one way or another, no matter what happens. If for some reason it struck Alex as important, he convinced me that it's important, that we not say there is definitely a book at the end of this project, and not a book that will be, in wrappers and in paper and signable and that sort of thing. There is an end result, a finished ebook with new content, a definite project. Those of you who do all or most of your reading on ebooks, that's all you'll need anyway. But I have a strong suspicion that if the end product is as great as Alex's enthusiasm makes it look, I don't see why I wouldn't want it out there in the world. I have to confess, looking at it this close, I mean, Alex has watched, a number of old friends of mine and also Alex have watched all of the pirouetting that I have done over the years and just not doing it. Heck, on this channel, you've seen one year after another me saying I really should pull together some reviews and publish them. I really should make a book. And I haven't done it. And he saw that the way to knock off those resistances, whatever they are, is to take on the work himself. That's a huge thing. A huge task to do. And I confess, now that someone else has done that, and all that's left for me to do is write, I'm feeling what authors feel like when you're close to having something out in the world with your name on it. It's a weird feeling. I won't go so far as to say that I'm gun shy, but it is a weird feeling. It makes me, the more I think about it, the more I understand and appreciate Alex's own insistence that we wait, that we watch and see how this project develops. He's going to want your feedback. He's going to want your input. He's going to want to judge what kind of interest there is out there for this thing. Anyway, that's the project that we're going to do. I've known about it for a while. I haven't mentioned it on this channel because it just didn't seem real. But it is definitely real, and there is no real good reason not to fast track it. Right? It's not the same situation that Alex himself is in, where any of you who have been through the traditional book publishing industry, it has delay after delay after delay built into it. He is a good chunk of the way forward. The manuscript is finished. 99% of all authors who dream about writing a book don't do that. The manuscript is brilliant. 99% of all authors who write, even who do finish their manuscript, aren't able to do that. And the manuscript is agented, which is also a huge hurdle that a lot of authors don't get. So all that's left now, it's a process that he's familiar with, that traditional world. I could not possibly go through that. I could not possibly do it. Fortunately, there is a fully legitimate alternative, and that's the one we're taking, but that fully legitimate alternative of assembling, creating, in this case, crowdfunding, and then maybe publishing a book, self-publishing a book, that doesn't need to have any delays in it. So that's the project. That's the thing that I'm putting before you, is The Books of Power by Steve Donoghue. That is the weirdest thing in the world. It's the weirdest thing in the world. It's going to take a lot of getting used to say. And what this video is the main point is all the information that I'll leave below. Alex has created a crowdfunder for this book that is, it gets you something. Your money is buying you something. But I think the main thing on my mind is that it's subsidizing the time that Alex is taking away from his job or his life. It's a large amount of time, and it's not an amount of time that I'm really going to do, or I'd have done it by now. So it's all about U.S. presidents. Some of my most zesty writing has been done along those lines, and I have new material that will be in this book. So I'm going to leave all the information down below just contact Alex. Let him know how interested you are. Definitely sign up if you want to. That would be wonderful. And we'll see where this goes. He will give crowdfunding backers regular updates. And he'll let me know if I should give regular updates. Because keep in mind, it might be my work, but it's his project. And I totally respect that. In fact, it honors me. So I'm going to wrap this up for now. It's just an odd video. I don't really know. Ordinarily with videos on this channel, I know what to say, but never in my life have I had this to say. That was the point of my throat clearing opening, is that I have been involved hand in hand with many a dipsomaniac author, with many a wreck, in order to get a book across the finish line. That has happened many times. I am well familiar with that. And yet, the butterflies, because this one is going to have my name on it. So anyway, I'll just wrap this up. I have to just cut the video because I don't know how to wrap this up. I've never had to say this to an audience before, even an audience of friends. So let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what you think by email, and definitely let Alex know what you think. Show that crowdfunder some love, and we will get this project done. Anyway, thank you, BookTube.